Today we are home alone, and today we're going to be acting some Sizz Reacts and some Matt Patties. Drop the volume so you can hear.
But one who will, after today's theory, provide us with key insights into how this whole fnaf universe works.
Okay.
Chase, get back on the couch. I'm moving to my single chair. Lay down, Chase. Chase, he's being stupid. Chase, stop. I'm trying to break my leg. Lay down, buddy. Lay down. Why are you happy? Look at that, guys. He's cringing.
1:35 a.m. The latest installment of the Fat Bear Fright series, and boy, was that one a biggie.
Yeah, that one.
Custom Knight's vengeful spirit and the real identity, or should I say identities, of Golden Freddy. And since the Fat Bear Fright books became a thing, I've done 5
That transition was slick.
covering many connections that they have to various facets of FNAF lore, from new strings of murders happening in 1985 to the true identity of Psychic Fred Bear. But despite all of this new FNAF talk, there's been one element I've largely been glossing over. It's Stitch Ray. In the event that you haven't picked up any of the installments, contains 3 short stories.
Chase, sit down or lay down on the couch.
I should add that I never knew at the end of the books that the Stitch Ray stories were there, so I'm going to go back and read the books on my phone after this and go to the end and see what the hell this Stitch Ray is everyone's talking about. I don't even know. But apparently Stitch Ray is supposed to be an ender because it keeps on using an endered asset when he mentions the Stitch Ray in his recent videos about FNAF.
One also comes with the
So yeah.
Huggy.
in reality, each book
He just won't get you guys.
3 and a 5th stories. You see, each one ends with an epilogue, our little MCU post-credits teaser giving us a piece of yet another story, the tale of the Stitch Ring, a story that appears to be spanning out across the ending of each and every book in this new series.
Bunny call.
Would be pretty darn cool, right? Also, it's a brilliant.
I need to start getting some FNAF books. I really need to.
True that.
I love it.
Ah!
It's instead a running thread throughout nearly every other shorter story that we've been reading.
Running thread.
In turn, seems to connect it both to the original trilogy of books as well as in the game.
You guys, comment down below if you read these. Stop being cringy.
Easter egg hunting.
Don't you dare bite that.
Admittedly, my first theory on the Fat Bear Frights books briefly covered the Stitch Wraith, and back then I assumed he was Enter. The Wraith was described in that book as a mysterious black mask with features drawn in thick black marker. The description specifically
Kinda like Vanny.
2 eyes, one of which appears to be blacked out.
Right.
A big toothy grin with blood around the mouth and a limping
Jeff, the killer.
walk. White mask,
Oh.
blacked out eye,
Never mind.
nipple shaking,
Maybe not Vanny. Maybe it's the animatronic.
the epilogue for 1:35 a.m. threw that hypothesis out the window as it revealed really how the Stitch Ring was brought to life. A process
So,
that
that's true?
mythos works. In this epilogue, we're introduced to Dr. Phineas Taggart, not to be confused with his friend
Phineas and Ferb.
Fletcher. Phineas is a bit of a mad scientist type, studying the power of human emotion. As he says himself, quote, human emotion is slower to emotion, more insidious. It emanates from us, or is excreted from us, like sweat or tears, and it wafts outward like a noxious cloud soaking into the surroundings. In particular, his research is centered around the intense emotion of agony. In order to study it, Phineas collects hundreds of haunted objects to search for this emotion trapped inside. Again, from the book, objects mean showing signs of torment.
Chase, stop being stupid. They're crazy. Get me that puppy.
Shells were possessed by ghosts. The ones that were truly haunted were energized by agony. Agony, I'm convinced, radiates farther from people than any other emotion, he said. My work is focused on the hypothesis that you can take a saturation of agony, add any sort of intelligence, even an artificial one, and they'll combine together to transmute the energy of emotion into the energy of physical action. This, I believe, is what explains what people call haunted objects. And already you might be starting to see how this all ties into what we already know about this franchise.
So he's trying to low-key explain Revenant.
We were introduced to the blueprints outlining how the sister location Scooper worked. And it was, well, it was not what we expected, to say the least. Through those blueprints, we learned about the mystery metal called remnant, and its ability to supposedly give life to objects that it touches. The novel The Fourth Closet took it one step further and showed us the remnant metal being created and used. In that story, we watch as William Afton melts down pieces of the old animatronics, creating a remnant suit that he then uses to give life to new living robots, specifically the Funtime animatronics. Quote, on the heating table rested the endoskeletons of the original Freddy's animatronics, welded and melted together, immobile and featureless, and still inhabited by the spirits of the children who had been murdered inside of them so many years ago, still filled with life and motion and thought, all trapped, all in terrible pain. Usually this goes in
agony.
Something I made. William said. If we remember back to Candy Cadet's stories of 5 things always becoming one thing, 5 kittens getting sewn together, or 5 keys melted down into one, this is exactly what those stories were referring to. But Phineas's experiments in 135 AM...
Chase, welcome to couch.
Insight into the true nature of remnant. Things that are brought to life via remnant aren't necessarily infused with a soul, but instead with agony, with intense human emotion, with extreme human suffering. This is important because it means that characters like Balloon Boy, the Mini Dads, the Arenas, and Sister Location, heck, even animatronics like Mangle don't necessarily need to have actual victims associated with them. We used to look at solving the mysteries of this series as having it be one-to-one.
Oh, and if he has like remnant or agony and stuff placed in like ones that don't have, kids in them, I think it will make William Afton's job easier of rooting Freddy Fazbear's.
All the time, Susan equals Chica, Charlie equals the puppet, Cassidy equals Golden Freddy. But what we're starting to learn is that there are other ways to bring things to life in this series. That some animatronics may contain multiple souls, like we talked about last time with Golden Freddy, and some might not contain any souls at all, as long as it always ties back to some extreme tragedy filled with this all-powerful emotion of agony. So with that little analysis in place,
So he made robots come to life with just emotion itself. Basically.
Funnel all the agony from them down into an endoskeleton, which we're specifically told is meant to be standard for bones, so we're talking like a FNAF 1 or FNAF 2 era endoskeleton here. Phineas then puts the head of a large 3-foot doll on it, a doll whose description bears a shocking similarity to Blank, vending 5 types of candy and finding a battery pack before turning this...
Yeah, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to Sis Reacts, Matt, Pat, and my channel.
Oh.
Surprisingly, and then
Phineas.
hiding under a black cloak, the Stitch Wraith has been born. But okay, why am I making such a big deal out of this thing? Why does this guy deserve his own episode? Well, because solving the Stitch Wraith story in these books
It helps you understand.
unto itself. You see, there have been various
it helps you understand, like,
throughout the 9 other stories of the series that connect things back to the
How the
Stitch
robots
Wraith.
can be
First clue was the battery pack Phineas uses
like
to
humans
power the
and
Stitch
stuff.
Wraith as he's building it. Because it's not
But
just
some don't have ears.
It came from Fetch, the murder animatronic dog from book 2 of the series. Quote, the item in the second box was...
Wait, what?
Because it's not just... First clue was the battery pack Phineas uses to power the Stitch Wraith as he's building it. Because it's not just any battery pack. It
It's
came from
Fetch.
Fetch, the murder animatronic dog from book 2 of the series. Quote, the item in the second box was an animatronic dog that clearly no longer functioned. The dog was an ugly dog, with a triangle-shaped head and a wide mouth full of sharp...
So the stories tie into the Stitch Wraith.
So immediately we know that the Stitch Wraith
Creation.
story is happening after the events of the Fetch story from book number 2. So I dug around deeper and more connections kept coming. Earlier in this same book, in the title story 135 AM about the haunted Ella doll, there's one line referencing a man named Phineas looking online for a particular toy. Quote again.
Yo! I remember that!
Let her...
Because she was trying to see if it was haunted or not. Or something was wrong with it.
was trying to find one of the dolls. His ad referenced the special Ella doll and said he was willing to pay a premium for the doll's energy. Overall, across
God,
the
yo.
published so far, 7 seem to tie back.
That would have made so much sense.
A rough timeline.
Had I actually read it, it knew it was there.
We know that 1:35 AM and Fetch must come first because Phineas is alive and looking for the Ella doll, like I just mentioned, and the evil robot dog has just started his murder spree. From there comes the story we just
Fetch never leaves him alone
the
either.
Stitch Wraith's creation. After that, he begins to roam the city collecting body parts for some purpose. You may remember
Yeah.
book number 1 story to be beautiful, in which Baby hacks apart a human girl named Sarah in order to steal her identity. Sarah
Yes.
is rebuilt out of junk, only for her to fall to pieces at the end. Well, in epilogue number 1, we hear that the Stitch Wraith was seen collecting those junk pieces of Sarah. Odd, right? It's not the only time that
He took Sarah though?
There's
What?
Stop. On a group of friends, he steal a defective plush trap doll.
For some reason, I really don't know why they did that. Oscar's stupid for that.
The boys managed to escape by luring it.
Yeah. It gets ran over by a train. This is a plush trap gets.
Salvaging whatever he could find on the broken bottle. And that's where it would seem to end if it weren't for one other small detail. You see, in one of the other stories in this book, we can learn more about a security guard being force-fed mini Rena dolls in the basement of Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals. There's a passing reference to a restaurant called the Snack Space. Hey man, I was picking up a takeout order at Luigi's the other night. Saw your ex on a date with the manager of the Snack Space. Seems super unimportant, right? Well,
Yeah.
this was the only time that it was mentioned, but it's popped up in one of the other stories. In Into the Pit, the very
Oh yeah, the dad was working there.
about the time-traveling ball pit, the Snack Space is where the protagonist's
Yeah.
father works, which means that Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals' sister location is also in that world, which in turn connects it to one final story, Count the Waves, where we see an
Count the
old broken
Waves.
Funtime Freddy planning to execute a girl trapped inside.
Oh, Millie.
Millie aren't
The golf
necessarily
girl.
directly tied to the Stitch Wraith. It certainly feels like at some point all of these stories will come together, as though we're working on chunks of a larger puzzle. We've got a big chunk over here, that's the Stitch Wraith connections, and a big chunk over here that's all connected through sister location and the Snack Space, and then you have a few other random pieces over here. By the end, I expect all of them will come together. So, assuming that they are all connected, the timeline seems to go about like this. Lonely Freddy, the story about the kids getting mind swapped with mini Freddy dolls, has to be first, because it's the only one of these stories so far where Fazbear locations are open and ready for business. At
Yeah.
some point, Freddy Fazbear's closing.
Okay, guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. There's gonna be a part 2. I'm gonna record it right now. Bye, guys.